It was just my mom's favorite place on earth to be. She loved getting away from Texas, being able to be in snow-covered white Christmas, and that was our family dream. We looked forward to that every year, to get to be able to spend our Christmas vacation together in the mountains with our family. My grams and I started on our snowmobile journey up to the cabin, my mom following behind us. As we got up to the cabin, my hands were freezing, so I jumped off, asked Mom to hurry and open the cabin. I needed to go run my hands under some water. I made my way up the stairs, opened the door, and I saw a flash of gray move behind the refrigerator. And the next thing I knew, there was a man pointing a revolver at me, saying, "Get in here, get in here." A second man comes out with thick glasses behind the bedroom, pointing another big black gun at me. And they both immediately started asking me who was with me. I said, my mother and my handicapped grandmother. Immediately after Mom and Grams were brought into the cabin, Mom said to them, what are you here for? What do you want? My mother just began to have a conversation, and the man immediately started to fire at her. I can remember her grabbing it across her chest and saying, "I've been shot." I see my mom go down, and then seconds after that, I look over to my shoulder and see my grandmother fall after her head had been blown off. It was dead silence.
We saw the one guy with his arm around my sister's neck and a gun to her back, and the other one that had jumped out with a ski mask had a gun drawn on us. Be quiet, be quiet. And they obviously were flustered and been surprised and didn't know what was going on. And my dad says, "What do you guys need? What do you guys need?" And I said, "You want money, Dad? Give him money." Yeah, we want money." And slowly my dad unzipped his snow vest and reached into his billfold and threw it on the ground. And as soon as he did that, the one guy said, "Now shoot him." And the one with the ski mask drew the hammer back and aimed, and clearly was having a hard time doing it. So the other one that had my sister pulled his gun out and aimed at him, fired twice, and it misfired. The third one went off and hit my dad. My dad fell. My sister and I ran to each other. I held her tight, and I said, "Lene." She just stayed silent. I said, "Lene, Mom?" She shook her head. Graham shook her head. And I said, "Are they both dead?" She shook her head, yes. I just held her tight, and I said, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." And at that moment, the feeling to survive kicked in, almost like an animal instinct. Something I'd never experienced and don't ever want to experience again. And right then, our minds came together, and we knew we had to come up with a plan. So Lene and I immediately started doing what they told us to do.
I recognized his vehicle. I remember just feeling, "Lene, you just got to be quiet. Don't make, you can't scream out." I just felt just not to make known that we knew him, that he was family. I was fearful that they would kill him.
So we passed Randy and just kind of gave him a very basic wave and nod of we would with anyone to be courteous. Passed through and crossed the road to get to the other side where the sheds were and where the car was. So we began loading up, and immediately Lene and I just looked at each other, and we knew we had to hurry. We had to hurry because if these guys knew that my Uncle Randy was there and we knew him, then they would probably kill him as well. We've got to stop this car. We've got to stop proceeding because my uncle just saw us. At some point, he's going to clue in that those girls went somewhere they shouldn't have gone. So we've got to slow down the situation. So immediately I say, "I have to go to the restroom. I have to go to the restroom." And as we're driving down, they said, "Okay, but if you do anything funny at all, consider your sister dead." We pulled up to the gas station, and the driver said, "No, this doesn't look right. I don't feel comfortable. This doesn't look right." So we continued down the road to go to the next town, to the next gas station. As we're in between the two towns, a cop started coming by us and passing us. The driver immediately began to freak out. There's a cop, there's a cop, there's a cop, man. The one in the back said, calm down, cool off, man. It was just a cop, relax. Continued to proceed. The cop turns around, he notices in the rearview mirror, turns around. He's turning around, and he's like, where are you speeding, you idiot? Where are you speeding? And he's going, and the cop starts chasing him. As he starts chasing him and moving quicker, another cop started proceeding towards us. At that point, both men knew something's going on. He gunned it, stepped on the pedal, and started to go very, very fast.
They started to drive extremely fast, and at that point I ducked and hid under my coat.
I looked over at the speedometer. We were going well over 100 miles an hour on this little road, and blowing through this town, he's honking his horn as fast as he can, flying, and there's cops behind us with sirens, and we drive, and we eventually come to a turn. The roads are slick, it's wintertime, and he slides and hits the side of this other gas station. Quickly, all the cops surround the car and draw down on us. He reaches and grabs a gun and goes, get back, and I'll shoot him. I got hostages, get back. And so the cops, move their cars back, and he pulls back and proceeds to go down this dugway, this ravine. And he's going way too fast, loses control of the car, and hits the side of this dugway, and the car pops up and slides down the guardrail and goes backwards. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we're gonna go off a cliff.
Right after the car crash, and there was a quick amount of silence just for a few seconds, I had been ducking down and looking up and then seeing a man come to me at gunpoint. And I remember saying, no. I thought for an instant that I was gonna be shot. It seemed like it was just minutes that they realized, oh goodness, these are the girls. I just remember walking by saying, these men just killed my family. They murdered my mom and Grams and my dad. Shoot them. I remember just saying, just shoot them now. I was screaming it. It's almost like at that point is when my voice came back. I was out of that state of shock, and I realized what had actually gone on. These men are in handcuffs, and I was hopeful that the policemen would kill them. In the hallway, my uncle was standing, and I embraced him in a great big hug, and he just said to me, sweetie, your dad's alive. And I just remember feeling so happy and ecstatic that my dad was still alive. We weren't able to see our dad until the following day. Had bandages all around his head, but just such a sigh of relief that I knew it was my dad. I saw his beautiful blue eyes, and instantly just a huge sense of relief, and running and embracing him, and him just hugging and saying it's all gonna be okay.